Hi folks, we're going to do a quick review of operating with integers here. And when we talk about operating with integers, what we're talking about is addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and exponents. Okay, now notice here how I put addition, subtraction, and multiplication, division together. That's because those operations are common. In fact, you can think of subtraction as just adding a negative number. Okay, so let's take a look at some examples. So I'm not going to teach the reasoning behind these rules. I'm just going to be reviewing the rules. Okay, so when we're adding or subtracting integers, okay, usually, and of course this works also for decimal numbers and for fractions, the same rules apply. Okay, we especially want to deal with scenarios where we've got two operators following each other. So let's say I have 10 plus negative 3. Okay, what does it mean to add a negative number? Okay, well, you would have learned that adding a negative number is the same thing as subtracting this digit here. Okay, so adding a negative number becomes a subtraction. So you just get 7 here. Okay, as opposed to subtracting a negative number, so I have 10 minus negative 3. Subtracting a negative number is equivalent to doing an addition. Okay, so this becomes 10 plus 3. Okay, so recall that adding a negative number becomes a subtraction, subtracting a negative number becomes an addition. Okay, so let's take a look now at multiplication and division. Okay, well, we know that when we multiply or divide two positive numbers, okay, I get another positive number. Okay, whereas when I multiply a positive and negative number, okay, the result is negative. Okay, so the difference here is you can know the sign of the final answer just by looking at the two numbers that are being multiplied or divided. Okay, so here positive 2 times negative 3 again gives me a negative number, whereas if I multiply two negative numbers, the result is a positive number. Okay, so one way to try to remember that is if the signs of the numbers are the same, the product will end up being a positive number, and if the signs of the numbers are different, then the result will be a negative number. And the exact same thing occurs if I'm doing a division. So here, if I have 6 divided by negative 2, okay, a positive by a negative, I end up with negative 6 over 2, which is 3. Or a negative over a positive, again, opposite signs, negative 3. But if we have a negative divided by another negative number, division of two negative numbers is equal to a positive number. Okay? So, the one you may or may not have seen too much of is exponents. Okay? Now, if I have, 4 squared, okay, we know that that's equivalent to 4 times 4. So 16, so just a number multiplied by itself. Okay, this is where things get a little iffy, is if I have this expression here as opposed to that expression there, okay, what is the answer? How are they different, or are they even different? Okay, so obviously here you notice that there's brackets around the negative 4. Okay, so this is where I'm actually going to talk about what we're going to see in the next video, which is the idea of order of operations. Okay, that when you have more than one operation in an expression, there's a particular order you have to follow. And of course, you know that you have to do exponents before you do things like additions, subtractions, multiplications, and divisions. So this is where we have to consider what this negative in front of the 4 represent. When you have a negative in front of a number, you can think of it as a multiplication. It's like having negative 1 times 4. Which gives you negative 4. So this negative in front is treated as a multiplication. But here, exponents have a higher priority than multiplication. So first, you have to, and I'm going to put these little hidden brackets there. First, you have to square the 4, which is the exponent, and then you take into account the negative, because that's equivalent to a multiplication. So the answer here would be negative 16. First you do the exponent, then you incorporate the negative. Whereas this one here, what is it that's being squared? Okay, it's everything that's in the bracket. So this is equivalent to negative 4 times negative 4. And of course, when we multiply two negative numbers, we get a positive number, so positive 16. Okay, so this is one of those common errors people tend to make at the beginning of grade 9. So it'd be really great if you can understand the distinction between these two expressions. Okay, so just to do a quick recap, okay, adding a negative number is equivalent to performing a subtraction, and subtracting a negative number is equivalent to performing an addition. Okay, so these are the rules for addition and subtraction. Once we get to multiplication division, it has to do with the sign of the individual numbers that are being multiplied. When the signs are the same, two positives, two negatives, the product or quotient gives you a positive number, and when the signs are different, whether it's a multiplication or whether it's a quotient, the result gives you a negative number. Okay, and the other thing to keep in mind when you're working with exponents, if there's no brackets around the negative number, as in this case here, first you have to perform the exponent, then incorporate the negative. Whereas if the base is in brackets, then it's this whole number that in this case here